we've had a few different projects, and the one that's maybe most relevant and recent is what are the long-term impacts of war on youth. And this is a place where tens of thousands of youth have been forcibly recruited into an armed group. And I think the conventional wisdom there, the conventional wisdom abroad, policymakers, a lot of people who a few years ago became very concerned with not just youth in general, but especially these particular war-affected youth in northern Uganda, was this one of traumatization, that people had experienced really, truly terrible things. And so the New York Times wrote an editorial where they called child soldiers in general damaged, uneducated pariahs. And a French foreign minister in a keynote address to the UN talked about them being lost for their country and lost for development. And there is a lot of good reason to think this is true. And I think what we found is that actually that's not true. It's certainly true for some people. Everyone has very painful experiences as a result of war. They remember terrible things, they experience terrible things, they experience things that would make you or I shudder to think of one of these things, and maybe this was something that happened all the time. And so they're painful, but they're not necessarily traumatizing in the sense that these people are not only still functional, but they live their daily lives, and it doesn't obsess them, it doesn't prevent them from living their daily lives, and they don't exhibit symptoms of what we would think of as really serious distress. Some do, but it's not 9 in 10, it's maybe 1 in 10. And that means a very different approach. You treat, when the problem is affecting 9 in 10 people, you approach it very differently than when it's just 1 in 10. In fact, a lot of people were activated by this experience, which was maybe one of the most extraordinary things we found. So the people who were formally abducted into this group, what this experience and what it seems to have done is to have actually made them more politically active. They're more likely to vote, they're more likely to be leaders, they're more likely to be seen as confident and important people in their community by others in their community. And this is the opposite of what we thought, and it means that we should think of these youth not as disempowered and traumatized pariahs, but as important people in their community and leaders.
How do you use these findings in your work today?
Well, this went in a couple of different directions. One, my research partner on this was a psychologist, and it led her to recommend and now also develop programs that are targeted at the 1 in 10 that are traumatized, and not the 9 in 10. So much more appropriate programs that are more appropriately targeted. And then the other direction was also economic. One of the things we found was that the really broad-based impacts of this war on youth was economic. That they were essentially left behind, and the more war-affected they were, the more left behind they were, because they weren't acquiring the capital or the skills or the experience or the assets that others were acquiring. And so we've been experimenting with different ways to improve youth employment. We don't really know how to improve youth employment. We have some ideas, we have different theories. It's really hard to do. We wouldn't be having an employment problem in this country if we knew how to fix this problem. So we're trying to do it in a lot of different ways, and we're evaluating what works and what doesn't. And that's been the focus of the last couple of years.